All right, so today we're going to talk about building yourself up brick by brick.
Me, brick by brick.
And becoming the person that you need to become and the steps on how to make that happen today. But that's not the most important piece. The most important piece is what he has done since the slide. Whenever you are on your high and you do get knocked down, when you're building, you have to decide on who you want to be.
Because you know what we always say, clarity of self equals clarity of purpose.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about it.
When it comes to building who you want to become, and you look at it brick by brick, you have to take one step at a time.
That's it.
One step at a time. That's what we're gonna talk about. So there's a few different things that led us to this conversation, right? But when I in the landscape of where the world is now and what everyone's talking about now,
right?
The culture is saying now, obviously, you know, I hate to call myself a guru, you know, but
I thought leader, I am black.
I predicted the slide.
Yeah,
I predicted the slide. I'm just
you
throwing it out there.
You said 7.
Huh?
You said 7.
Oh yeah, it would have been like 7th round.
Yeah,
but,
7th round. Oh, you did say number 7.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
7th round. Okay.
But
yeah.
I went out. So who we're talking about? Shedeur Sanders. So if you look back a few pods ago, we talked about. I forgot what the topic was, but it was.
We're just talking about
draft day.
Yeah.
So I predicted that Shedeur was going to slide, and did he ever?
He did.
Right,
he did.
But that's not the most important piece.
Okay.
The most important piece is what he has done since the slide.
Man, go ahead, man. Come, bro.
And that's
I follow the Browns just to see what real talk. I follow the Browns just to see what he's doing, man.
Yeah, and this is not a Shedeur episode, but it's like
maybe.
You know, maybe. but like it just, you know, whenever you are on your high and you do get knocked down, like when you just in general, when you're building, when you have to decide on who you want to be.
No,
and I think Shedeur decided a long time ago who he wanted to be, and like, you know, after the first day, hey, I thank God for everything.
Right. Clarity of self, man.
So, and
I think I said that on one of my Facebook posts. I said I might show it somewhere here, somewhere. But I said Shedeur seems like he have a clear sense of self.
Yeah.
So he'll be all right.
Yep.
And that's what that's all it's about.
And then he started to work.
Yeah.
Like you see, you know, all the stuff of him going to different schools or him going to, doing different workouts, right? Like there's talk about him now having the opportunity to win a starting role. So it's just, you know, it's one of those things where, like, again, you have to decide on who you want to become.
Okay.
And when you think about the word decision, right, or decide, like I means something died.
Yeah.
Like, so you have to almost burn all the bridges of
preaching, bro.
Who you thought you were or who people think you are.
Let's get
and
yes.
You have to be that person that you want to be. And I'll give you an example, right?
Hold on. First of all, you ready for Sunday?
Sunday.
Yeah. Get up on that pulpit, man.
Budfish, bud.
They're preaching, man. Anyway, go ahead. Example.
I'll give you an example, right? You know, I had to make a decision on what type of manager that I wanted to be.
Right.
And so in this example, I had I pulled up to a location and I'm like, you know what? There's 3 things I want to accomplish. I want to bring energy. I want them to feel me, right? Like not just, hey, you know, I want you to feel me, right?
Right.
I also want to provide value, and you know, and I want to make sure that they leave with something memorable,
man.
Right. So
where did that before you get into that? Where did that come from though?
Just internally, right? I think you see, you have an idea of what not say people think of you or you look at, you know what, I would say this, it comes from your results.
Okay.
And when your results, no matter what you think you're doing, when your results are not good,
right,
or they're not where you want them to be, you have to figure out, okay, what can I change to make everything blossom the way it needs to?
So my first question and tip is, what is your vision for yourself?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And what is that vision about?
And if you're not careful, when we talk about drifting, right, you can get caught up in your day and you're not being intentional to who and what you want to bring each and every day and what value you want to provide each and every day.
That makes sense.
And you got to be able to recognize when you aren't doing that and then make the changes immediately to do that, right? And have you ever thought about that though? Have you ever thought about like what your vision for yourself is?
I thought about that even talking about this pod, you know, just really prepping, and I really had to do some self-reflection myself, like what is my vision for myself and where did the vision come from? You know, do it come from ego? Do it come from fear? You know, do it come from, you know, God himself? Where does that vision come from? Some of it comes from what God has shown me about myself, and then the confirmation of others. So like you say, the results, right? So I may have done something that was good that I haven't really intentionally thought about, if that makes sense. You know how we just do things from self. We just do things and people are like, oh, I see you. And you're like, you know what? I never thought about that. So it's kind of like a confirmation that now I'm making the decision. Okay, I want to build myself on that thing. You know what I mean? So confirmation from others means a lot, but also you got to be careful because sometimes how you feel about yourself could be bad, and you may receive confirmation from other people in that area too. Yeah. If people do talk about my weakness, and then that had me to thinking about, okay, how do I feel about my own weaknesses? Sometimes we get defensive, you know, to be honest, because we don't want to be seen as imperfect. You know what I mean? But now I'm getting to a place, even in my spiritual walk, where I'm okay with my weaknesses. So if I know my weaknesses and are truthful with my weaknesses, when other people point them out, it's not as a sore. It's not a healing sore anymore. Right. You know what I mean? I understand my weakness. So now I have Henry to fill in because I'm weak in this area. Yeah. So I think like just building yourself based upon your whole self and not being insecurity. I think insecurity is a result of pride. You know, you try to hide something and cover it up. And it starts back from Adam and Eve. You know, when the enemy tricked Adam and Eve, and then they tried to cover themselves up. That's what insecurity, pride is. You don't want anybody to see your weaknesses. Yeah. But I think once you become familiar with your weaknesses and you become okay with them, it's okay for other people to point them out. Yeah. And you just build on that too.
Yeah, and you surround yourself with people that are strong in that. Yeah. Like yeah. I'm a terrible organizer and planner. Like when it comes to I'm very process driven, but when it comes to if I gotta like packing a car, something as simple as like putting bags in a trunk. Right. Like I'm not gonna do that. Right. I'm gonna have somebody else do that because I'm just gonna try to fit it in there the best way it can versus being strategic in how it needs to be packed.
Right. Right. Sometimes we can have a vision of ourselves based upon ego. We may think that we are somewhere where we're not, higher than where we actually are. You know. Okay. I like playing basketball. Right. And I can look at the basketball game and like, man, I could be in the NBA. I guess what I'm asking is it wrong to build on that? You feel me?
I ain't gonna lie. I did look and I was like, man, I could probably play baseball. And then I went to the batting cages. And I put it for like 70 miles per hour. I was like, man, I can't play baseball. It is not, it sounds good in theory. Right. But but that is a toxic trait of ours.
Right. Just build and that's what I'm saying. Like you can envision yourself doing that. But I guess building yourself brick by brick comes to maybe you could play baseball, but you got to put in the work. You're going back to the results, just putting in effort. So, but you can't say that I'm better than Ken Griffin Jr. Right. And I ain't putting no work in. Right. So where's that vision of self coming from? So I just wanted to make that point. But you did mention that you are now being more intentional with building who you want to be. And you said that it came from results.
Yeah.
Let's kind of talk about that. Like where did that come from? Where you say, okay, I decided who I want to be, and I'm gonna build on that. I really want to get into the conversation we had.
Yeah. I think the results is so important because you can. And I guess I'll give an example. I have one of my managers. Man, they were going through a rough time, and in terms of performance wise,
Right.
like they weren't performing where they expected to perform. They weren't performing where their talent level said they could perform it.
Right.
And I was on the phone talking with them the other day, and I was like, man, you killing it. I was like, if you look at this, like you crushing it, like you really and I think like the because it's the vision.
Right.
I think it comes from how do you also want people to feel? And
Makes sense.
like I had in that moment to let them know and recognize all the effort that they put in, all the things that they were, going through over the last year is like finally paying off.
Right.
And, they're a top performing, branch right now.
Right.
And crushing it, so it's just, I think it's super important to make sure you recognize and reward or understand what you want to do. For me, is recognizing and rewarding.
Right.
As well as all the other things we talked about as well.
Okay. And then you said you wanted to build on that. You went into the other branch, high energy and all that.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, okay, if I want to recognize and reward, I want to, and part of that comes high energy because I'm a big deal. And I don't mean that like me, like Henry, but the title.
Right.
Right. Like people look at the title, people look at the perks.
Right.
People look at all the things that, this whatever position holds.
Right.
As like, I ain't gonna say the end all be all, but like as like the first big step.
Yeah.
Or one of the biggest steps. So, because I remember being, coming up I'm like, man, I gotta get to that level because I want to drive a Jeep Grand Cherokee, 2014 Jeep Grand Cherokee, right? Like, and that's what I got too many kids to drive something that small, but now, but like that was my.
Don't crush my dreams, man. Of that Forerunner, man.
No. Okay. No, that's small. Like inside, I got 7 of us now. So.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I got a third. I have a third row. But yeah. So that again, having that vision of understanding that. All right, so I got to bring that energy every single day when I embrace people because I want to be able to be that person that they view like, man, not only is he always positive,
right,
he always makes me feel good.
But that's how you envision yourself.
Yeah.
So you build on that brick by brick.
Brick
by brick, man. That's what's up. Having a clarity of self equals having a clarity of purpose. Like it's just really understanding who you are based on how you see yourself, and not necessarily from pride, oh, I can do this and haven't put in the work, but actually how you actually see yourself. And sometimes that vision comes from God. Most of the time it comes from God, I would say. So I want to talk about that, but I want to talk about how do you feel about yourself too? Good and bad feelings, and where do these feelings come from? Because sometimes I can see myself. So like my struggle is, I remember when I received a vision of myself talking to, I want to say maybe 5,000 people. I saw what I was wearing, what I had on and all that. But my problem is that I've only did public speaking and Toastmasters. Like I didn't have any public speaking on my social media or anything, but I always saw this. I always knew that that's what I was called to do, just share hope on stage of 5,000 people. So what I do, I remember February 19th. Was it February 19th? It had to be 2016. I did my first Facebook post where I got on and, what they call that? My first Facebook video. And I just said some gibberish. I don't know what I said. But it was
good at the time.
It was some motivational, whatever it was, you know what I mean? And I was so nervous about me getting the feedback and all of that. because I saw myself doing this thing, but I felt inadequate, if that makes sense. So, and I think those feelings about myself derive from like confirmation of how you thought somebody else may have saw you, or you know, from other people externally or whatever. But I made a decision to build on what I saw versus on how I feel.
Yeah.
So I had to. So when you're building yourself brick by brick,
Yeah.
it takes a level of faith as well.
Yeah, and it's funny that we talk about brick by brick too when you think about it, because so my dad or my family owned a construction business of masonry. They were bricklayers.
Okay.
And so like what they would do is, you know, obviously you got your brick, you put the concrete on it,
Right.
and then you place it in there.
Right.
But from time to time, you know, depending on where you're placing the brick, you have to break the brick. So like, even though we're talking about like building it brick by brick, sometimes you have to like build it in a way, or you have to kind of not soften it, but cut a piece off so that way it fits and you continue to build on, because you don't want to have an uneven foundation as well.
Right. Right. So you had to mold the brick
Yeah.
into what you wanted to become. Man, that's what building yourself is all about. You know.
Because sometimes we try to think we're trying to do everything. We're trying to do like sometimes you could build, like, take a half of a step. Step 1A and step 1B.
Right.
You ain't got to do everything all at once, man.
That's true, man. I mean, as long as you're taking a step, that makes sense. You know, I my initial step was a 1-minute video on Facebook.
Yep.
And from there, man, here we are doing the podcast.
Just imagine, right, if you never like took that one minor step.
Yeah. Then all I can see is the vision and haven't put in the work. You know what I mean? So I got series with these videos on. I did it on Facebook, put them out on Instagram, and come to think about it, man, 2016, it will be 10 years next year.
It's crazy.
You know what I mean? And now, like, we have a whole freaking podcast.
Right. Oh, production.
A whole production. You know what I mean? And if you go back to like the history of my Facebook or Instagram, you'll see like all these clips of this is before reels, before shorts. You'll see these clips of like motivational talks and stuff like that I've been putting out. This is before.
Now I gotta go back and look.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like, you'll go back, you'll see these videos. I'll probably put one here somewhere, but you'll see those things, man. But I had to initially overcome the inadequacy that I felt, because honestly, man, I'm not a good speaker, bro. Like, I don't pronounce my words right. I'm from the South, bro. Like, you know, but I saw that vision, and I always felt that I could do it. And then again, I had to battle the feeling of being inadequate. Right. So eventually, the step of building myself is a step of faith, if you think about it, against against the negative feelings or whatever. And you may get some naysayers too. Bro, you don't talk correct or whatever.
Definitely gonna get that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's gonna be.
But you still got to keep going. That's the part of like building yourself brick by brick. So that's that.
Yeah.
Man, so the question is, how do you build yourself brick by brick?
Okay. How do you build yourself brick by brick?
Because you walked in and you said, okay, this is what I want to be. Because you mentioned part of it.
Okay.
About the story. I'm trying to get you to remember the story here.
Which one? Which one?
So you talked to your team member. You told them how, and then she said something good about you.
Oh yeah.
This is what sparked the whole conversation.
Yeah. And I kind of don't remember, but I'm gonna try. So we having a conversation, and I'm telling, like, you know, she's doing she's doing a great job. And she was like, you know what? She was like, you've been doing a great job over the last year. Like, your communication, your just the extra things that you do, the small things that you do, you know, makes a big difference.
Right.
And you know, it's just and then you're gonna tell me that somebody like told her something like a few months ago. I'm like, why you didn't tell me that? But anyway,
it was something good, though, right?
Yeah, it was something great. Like, it was like, you know, like I wish I could get, you know, this from this person every single day. Right. Like, you get a chance to be managed by him. Like, I wish I could be managed by him. Right. You know, so it's like, it's one of those things where it's like humbling, right? Like, you know, you never think to too deep into yourself. You shouldn't, right? You just, you know, what Charlamagne say.
Oh,
never think
you
to-
was never good as
never
they
good
say you are.
Yeah,
And never,
never bad as
never
they say
bad.
you are, right?
Yeah,
So-
never bad as they say you are. Yeah.
So I think that's just a good thing to really understand is that no matter how great things are going, never get too high, and even when things are bad, never get too low.
Right.
But it is. So I think when you ask the how question, it's okay. You gotta go back and start peeling the onion back on, and just ask people too. Like, what do you like?
Right.
Like, what works? Really figure out everything that can make it. You know, because that's at the end of the day, everyone wants to be great. So, but you just have to have the science behind it, along with the.
That's true. I think it's the good confirmations and the bad confirmations. Like I mentioned earlier, like you may get some bad confirmation, bad feedback, but the point is not to be insecure about it. Just taking it like you're human. You're gonna have some flaws and weaknesses. But that's the opportunity also to make connections with other people who may be strong in those areas, you know, and to actually build a community, build something around, you know, your team, your organization, or whatever you're doing. You're just utilizing your weakness to promote somebody else's strengths,
Yep.
you know. So if you look at it that way, it kind of alleviates the insecurities and, you know, the defensiveness, you know, when somebody mentions your weaknesses and stuff like that. But ultimately, man, what I'm hearing is that just really building on the good things, building on your strengths.
Yeah,
Building on
your
those-
strengths.
Yeah, building on those foundations, you know what I mean? So that's ultimately what I'm hearing here, man. Yeah.
Yeah,
So we got to build it brick by brick.
brick by brick, baby.
Cool. That's all I got, man. Hey, but look, you said, what am I doing right?
And
We've been saying,
So
by the way,
fresh.
congratulations too.
on what?
100 episodes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
100.
Congratulations.
Really, really 130, right?
Yeah, plus the 30. Yeah.
With the Be More, Just Talk Nothing series.
Yeah.
But yeah, 100 episodes, man, and we finally got the What Am I Doing Right journal. We've been talking about this for like months.
Yeah.
It's coming. Well, it's here. You guys be sure to click the link in the bio.
It's nice too.
Man, I'm telling you, it's leather. Got the gold plate
Embossed.
here,
Oh, my
embossed. You know what I mean? We trying to step it up for our leaders out here, man. So y'all click the link in the bio. Make sure y'all get that. We'll link in the descriptions. Make sure y'all get that. Like, share, comment, hit the bell.
Hit the bell.
Hit the bell, man. Let's get this out of here, bro. We out. All right. Peace.
Stick and move, we can get it done. Call it unity, it ain't no way around it. Cultivating, we get motivation from the big guy. We don't play about him. Going hard for the game, showing love.